Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another podcast. On today's show, we have Ryan Osten. He's the general counsel of Gubagoo. Some of you may know the company for their innovative chat platform, but the company is evolving to bring a unique set of digital retailing tools to help consumers engage with dealers and to help dealers sell more cars in a digital age. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
So, Ryan, for dealers watching and listening to today's podcast who have never heard of Gubagoo before, which I think might be hard, but if they haven't, give us a little thumbnail. How long have you been working in the automotive community, and what kind of scale as far as the number of dealers who are using your services month after month?
Sure. So Gubagoo has been in business approximately 8 years, and I use Gubagoo. It can be referred to as Gubagoo or Gubagoo. Approximately 8 years. As most of the industry we would know, we started as a communications platform, what would be commonly understood as live chat. We were the first company to bring behavioral targeting to the chat space within automotive, and as well as a few other firsts, including inventory integration and publishing of relevant offers within communication platform for dealers. Currently, we service approximately 5,000 dealerships across all the major OEMs across Canada, the United States, and as well internationally.
Well, that's quite an accomplishment, and I know Brad Title, who's CEO of the company, and he's an amazing entrepreneur. He's laser focused on innovation. So, Ryan, for dealers who have been trying to figure out how to maximize the traffic to their website, how to break down some of the old-fashioned barriers that consumers have about buying a car, why did Gubagoo decide that digital retailing was a perfect fit for your tech stack?
Sure. Yeah. So, as I mentioned, we were best known as a communication platform, but our mission has always been to help consumers find, purchase, and service their perfect vehicle, and also to help dealerships generate more revenue in doing so. So what we found was when we looked at where we were with our communication platform, live chat, and through multiple different channels, we felt like there was a clear value to connecting digital retailing with communication to bring more transparency and reduce the complexity of the online retailing experience. So we believe that online retailing is not strictly best served as a self-serve experience. It's not a one-click buy process. You're not buying, an iPhone or Android or a Samsung TV. There is complexity to the sale at this point. And without a communication feature baked in to the digital retailing experience, we feel that experience suffers for both consumers and dealers. And then you have dealerships that are using two different companies for retail and chat. And we feel like that experience makes for a disjointed experience with huge disconnect between what's happening within the online purchasing experience and then what's happening when the consumer wants to communicate with someone while in that experience to ask questions or help understand the process and ultimately, buy a car in a really transparent and easy experience.
Well, you hit it on the head with your philosophy that consumers need some assistance. Last November 2018, we had the second annual, at that time, Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit at the beautiful Breakers Hotel. And we live tested 10 different DR platforms. And really, there wasn't one solution that allowed the consumer to confidently get through all the steps. There was a lot of points where either the consumer skipped something, didn't know what to do. Obviously, there were some cases where things broke. Now, we're going to be retesting digital retailing platforms this May at the Digital Marketing Strategies Conference in the Napa Valley. But I couldn't agree with you more. Consumers have no real memory of how to purchase a car. They don't do it but every 3 to 5 years or longer. So I love the fact that as a consumer goes through a workflow, they can ask questions along the way. So, Ryan, when you implement the Gubagoo DR solution, are the people that are helping the consumers your employees, the dealer's employees, or is it a mix? What are you finding in your initial DR dealer list, how they're handling those questions?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. So we provide for multiple options for the dealership and the consumer in terms of how conversations are handled within our digital retailing experience. So firstly, you need to have, of course, 24/7 help available for a consumer within digital retailing. And what we do is we actually train a separate group of Gubagoo special agents, and we call them retail specialists. So these are agents who are trained specifically on the digital retailing experience. They can see exactly what the customer is doing while they're in the process of digital retailing so that they can answer questions about how this works and what's going on and what the next steps are. Now, we think that that is a critical piece of the experience to have help available at all time. Now, we do believe that the best experience can be provided by the dealership. They have the most intimate knowledge of their store, how they communicate with customers, how they do deals, what their values are, all those things that really, contribute to having a great experience. So what we do is we actually empower the dealership to also get involved in these conversations and proactively reach out to the customer while they're in digital retailing. So, for example, when a customer gets into digital retailing, we notify the dealership via various notifications through our apps that a consumer is calculating a payment in digital retailing, is valuing their trade in digital retailing, or whatever step they're on.
Right.
And then after they drop off, if they drop off, let's say, because the reality is that consumers are going to pause and start later and those kinds of things. We also give the dealership the tools to re-engage with that customer when they're offline through email, SMS, and multiple channels, with things like desking a deal and being able to send a deal through SMS or email or within the chat to help the consumer just move further in the buying process in a transparent way. So the answer to your question is really we allow both. We call it a hybrid solution where we have staff, but we highly encourage the dealership to staff and train people in the store that can help the consumer through our apps while they're in digital retailing.
Great. So that makes sense to me. I just bought a car this weekend, and I thought I was going to buy one make and model, had a number of questions that I couldn't really get on any dealer's website. I ended up checking with some friends. But at the end, I really wanted to know what the finance rate was. And the dealer groups that I was interested in, this one OEM, it was like, you got to come in to get the finance rate. And I'm like, no. I'm from the industry, and one salesman says, it takes a lot of time to calculate, what your payments and rate will be. I'm like, no, I'll fill out the credit app online. It's like, well, we don't do it that way. I said, go into your F&I manager and tell them I'm in the industry, which they finally complied. The problem is the best finance rate was 5.99%, which, made me look somewhere else. It would have been so much easier if I could have interacted with someone or allowed the DR tool to let me work through. I would have given, and I did give all my information. It was painful to get it. So I like the fact that you have live assistance. Let's talk about the tech now for a minute. Some of the DR tools have limitations on showing incentives. Some have some limitations on showing all the banks and credit unions that the dealer uses. Others have limited or no real depth into the F&I products. As you look at the current landscape and you see like Dealer Track and Route 1 as two key integrations, and you think of F&I products, whether they're from JM&A or someone else, how would you describe the robustness of the Gubagoo DR platform in terms of what a dealer is using today? Are there some DMS restrictions? Are there some F&I restrictions? What do dealers need to know?
Sure. So I do want to preface, also, I noticed I've been using the word digital retailing firstly, and just occurred to me that we call our solution virtual retailing because of the way that we allow the dealership and our staff to communicate with the consumer. And we consider it really a virtual buying experience. Within that virtual experience, I think that it's imperative that we can map the providers that the dealership is using as closely as possible. So let's talk about the process within virtual retailing. So for F&I, we integrate with the F&I provider that the dealership uses. So we obviously can't force them into, and have no desire, and I don't think any digital retailing tool should, force them into using some F&I provider that they don't already work with. So, and I think that the industry is getting to a better place in terms of having those integrations available for companies like Gubagoo to be able to easily hook up to, if it's JM&A or
F&I Express.
So F&I Express, actually, these are the guys that are, F&I Express and Penn are the guys that are the companies that are facilitating the integrations to your JM&A, your AutoGuard, and all these American AutoGuard and all these other F&I providers. So they're making it really easy rather than having to go to each F&I provider and do a direct integration. You're able to go through, and I think all the digital retailing companies, no secret that they use these companies like F&I Express to do their integrations with F&I.
Yeah, so that makes it so you're not reinventing the wheel or doing one-off integrations. That makes complete sense. Today, is your platform working with both CDK and Reynolds? Is it certified? What do we need to know about that?
Yeah, so currently we're working on the DMS integrations. We're not there yet, but I don't see that at the stage that digital retailing is at right now. The most important thing is providing the customer with as accurate payments as possible and as accurate a deal as possible, so that when they come into the store, everything is already baked up for them, right? And they've had the communication with the dealership while they're in virtual retailing. They, even the dealership maybe had an additional discount that they could have provided to the customer that wasn't available on the website, or what have you, or put them into a different vehicle that worked better for them, for their credit score, etc. So I think that DMS integration, while will be important for, one day when the entire process is online and, you're buying the car with a few clicks and, the car is showing up in your driveway, the reality is that the industry is not at that point, and consumers are not at that point yet. Many consumers.
That's right. So I think the majority of consumers, Ryan, are looking for a near perfect payment. I think for me, I'm just going to use my weekend experience. Here's what I knew. I knew the car I wanted. I knew I wanted to finance it. I knew I was going to put a certain amount down, and I wanted to accelerate the payments over, for 3 years. I didn't want a 5-year or a 6-year loan. I knew all that. The only thing I didn't know is taxes and fees and destination and dealer fees and all that kind of stuff, which are kind of presets, right? You know, from the dealer feed what their selling price is. So a lot of these other things, as you're saying, you know, the rebates and incentives, you don't need to necessarily get that from the DMS as long as you're getting the feed, the accurate feed from someone else.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, what we have in order to get the customer as close to that payment and make the process as painless as possible, in addition to the communication, we are calculating real payments from real lenders and presenting those to the customer. Now, dealers have specific ways and they want for which lenders they want to work with, right? So they may want to show the lowest payment to the customer. They may want to show captives first. Each dealer has a bit of a different preference. Some dealer, I had a dealer the other day that wanted to use a bank I never heard of because it was local to their area. No problem, because of, when you're going through whoever you're using to calculate, to get those integrations to the lenders, they will have those all set up. So we're calculating real payments. When we set up the dealer, we load in taxes, documentation fee, all those fees. So it's super transparent. It's included in the monthly payment we show to the customer. We have value or trade-in through KBB or trade pending, full rebates and incentives from OEMs with stackability. So you can apply those rebates to two payments, accessories, F&I, and then finally the full credit application if the customer wants to go to that level, which sends right into Route 1 or Dealer Check. Now, the consumers who are going to put in that full credit application, they're going to be doing as much of the work online as possible. But I think that even if you don't end up doing that full credit application, there's still a ton of value to the consumer in the information they were able to get provided to them, as well as the dealership. I mean, the dealership now has a fully formed, I don't even want to call it a lead. It's like 75% of a deal, basically, that they're able to communicate with the customer now, follow up with them, and, sell them the vehicle.
So one of the things that was interesting when I bought my car this weekend is, I told the sales associate, I submitted a lead. They didn't have digital retail. I submitted a lead. When the salesperson called me back, I said, listen, I work in the industry. This is what I want to do. I want to finance it this much down, 3 years, 0.9% financing was made available. This is the model. I want it in white. But everything was so clear. And they discounted. They had a very significant discount off of MSRP. I was very happy with the price. But when I went in to see the car as it was being detailed, they had an addendum sticker on the car, which, of course, they didn't charge me for, but they had about, $2,000 worth of things on an addendum sticker. And obviously, on some of the models where the dealer's only making a few $100s, they need some front-end gross for the salesman to make money on. Has anybody talked to you about in the DR process that those addendums, because some of the cars, right, have pinstriping installed. They may have a certain, window tinting that's pre-installed because some dealers do it. Has anybody figured out yet on how to get that dealer installed data if it's already installed and the dealer wants that to be disclosed? I haven't heard anybody address it.
Yeah. So, first of all, I think it's super important that we, as an industry, continue to build empathy with the consumers. Like you're saying, you went and you bought a car and, you evaluated the experience. I think too often we're eating our own dog food and we don't, put ourselves in the shoes of the consumer and kind of see what's going on so that we can build empathy with them. From your specific question about addendum, so my understanding is that the dealers need to, or their providers, their inventory partners, make sure that the inventory feed is up to date and accurate. I know it can be a real challenge just with everything going on in, we're all super busy, whether it's a dealer or anyone else, but the price should be accurately reflected in the inventory feed. You should work with your digital retailing provider to make sure that feed is rendering, like the pricing is rendering correctly in your digital retailing experience. So the top level price, then there's discounts, et cetera, and make sure that that's all rendering properly and test the vehicles and make sure that, that it's showing up accurately. And that's a huge piece of it. That happens in the implementation phase. And then make sure that your feature descriptions are good, because if companies are getting it from some of the inventory data providers out there. We know who they are. They're great companies, but they won't necessarily have build data. And if they do have build data, it's very expensive. And even with build data, they won't have the additional, dealer installed accessories. So I think the best approach is for dealers to make sure that their inventory feed is really, really solid. So it's not just for digital retailing. It's whether you're syndicating it out to trader, to digital retailing, to cars, wherever, that, they're relying on those vendors relying on that feed. So the better you can make it, the better your vehicles are going to show up wherever they're being displayed to consumers. And, the more, the happier everyone's going to be.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing, right? Because if they update their feed to show, the pinstriping or the tinting, they may price themselves out of consideration on third parties. It's like a tricky thing. When do you introduce that? And, in hindsight, both dealers were like, listen, why don't you just come in? We'll get everything. It won't take long. I said, no, I want to work out the numbers here. No, why don't you just come in? And I understand that. So I understand the retail. But I'm thinking now that obviously when they would show me the car, that's when they would kind of pop that, hey, we recommend these $2,000 worth of additional, things. And that could be a challenge to digital retailing in the future, especially for dealers who rely on that addendum to be profitable. I'm just wondering if those accessory and F&I product feeds have to be maybe triggered differently. I don't know. There's no one seems to have addressed it perfectly. Let's talk about adoption. So you have, just like everyone else, it's kind of a funny thing. There are very few dealers who are doing digital retailing with gusto. Like no one has market share, I'd say today, because, out of the 17,000 franchise dealers, I couldn't even think that 1,000 total were aggressively working out of a DR platform. From the dealers that install your technology and get trained by your team, what percentage of the total sales? Is there some number? Like dealers ask me this all the time. Hey, if I put this on, how many people are really going to use it? Now, I say a lot of people use it to different levels, but dealers always ask, but how many people really go through it to the end? How do you answer that question for dealers who are considering your tech stack?
Sure. So firstly, I think, you hit the nail on the head in that, maybe there's 1,000 dealers really using digital retailing. And I think that represents illustrates how nascent this area is. So there's still a ton to learn for dealers, for vendors, for consumers. If you look at all the others, let's say like chat, right? Communication. There's over 10,000 dealers using chat, right? Even Gubagoo, we have 5,000 dealers using chat. Just on Gubagoo, in the entire digital retailing space, there's maybe 1,000 dealers doing it. So it's so early, it's so nascent right now. So it's a really, really exciting, I think, for the whole industry. But I'm very interested to see, where the whole space is in a few years. Now, back to your question, which was about numbers. So I think, I've been following you, and I know that one of your messages is about CTAs on the dealer website.
Right.
And I think that, that's really what we call top of funnel for digital retailing, for virtual retailing. So getting more consumers into virtual retailing will obviously improve numbers, right? So we're taking a long look at these buttons and why are there so many buttons that all seem to do the same thing, right? And I think that that's something where dealers and websites and everybody can take a look and really try to improve numbers that are coming out of digital retailing. What we're seeing currently is 15% of consumers who complete the digital retailing process are actually ending up purchasing a vehicle. So coming into the store and purchasing a vehicle. We think that's a great number right now, but we're never satisfied with the baseline. We're always trying to double that number. So that's one of our big focuses right now, just to push that number up. But again, it's still early. We launched this year, and so we've been tremendously pleased with the results, and the dealer feedback has been extremely strong. But like I said, we're never resting. So we're going to continue to push that number up.
Yeah, and for dealers listening to today's podcast, the numbers that Ryan's sharing is very much in line with what I'm seeing out there. Although, Ryan, I've talked to Brad about a few of your clients that have seen some really phenomenal results right out of the box. I think it's going to take a little while for consumers to realize they have these tools. We're going to have to educate them. I've been an advocate that dealers need to have a video at the start of the DR process to explain what is going to be expected. I love the fact of having a live assistant for this virtual retailing experience, just like they would in a dealership. No one leaves a consumer to their own discovery and their own path and pricing. They're always guided. But also, last year at the AAAS, Brad was talking about a unique partnership that you guys have had with JM&A. Can we talk about that and how that benefits your customers?
Yeah, so JM&A is, I don't want to get too detailed in it, but JM&A has been a great partner, great advocate for Gubagoo and for dealers. So I mentioned the retail specialists that we've staffed to handle the virtual retailing chats. So when a consumer starts a chat within virtual retailing, and JM&A has really helped us hone in our practices for those retail specialists. So, just helping us with best practices on how we should be talking to consumers and things like that. Yeah, we continue to work with them on various initiatives. So,
well, listen, that's great news, Ryan, because, the fear that dealers have is the F&I department, which is where they make pretty much all their money. They're very concerned that exposing F&I products early or letting a consumer to self-pick is going to hurt their back-end gross. So having your retail specialist learn from the best of the best on how to sell products and how to meet the needs of consumers, can you talk to this general question that I get? Hey, if I turn on digital retailing, is my back-end gross going to go down? What are you seeing? What is your team telling dealers based on the dealers who are using your tech stack?
Yeah, sure. So it's a huge concern, especially with where, margin on vehicle sales are, like new vehicle sales are right now. Back-end gross is obviously a huge component of the variable ops revenue. So what I would say, the way that we've approached this is, firstly, be sure within the virtual retailing experience that we have a really nice F&I experience. Secondly, the communication piece of letting the dealership get involved in the deal with the consumer while the customer is going through digital retailing experience, we think is a huge component of enabling back-end gross within the digital retailing experience. Because, consumers are not always, they're not often well educated on F&I and what the benefits of the products for the consumer. So I think that it's really important that digital retailing has a communication component that can help the consumer understand the benefits of F&I, so that they're not just skating over that process, the F&I process, just to get the deal done, the consumer to get the deal done.
Great. I am very interested in the ability for a consumer to pick where they left off when they hit the dealership. So as I've been talking to dealers, they're saying, Brian, hey, some of the products that get a lot of attention in the media have really poor tools to allow a sales associate to pick up exactly where the consumer left off. Let's just say I go ahead and use your virtual retailing tools, and I put in my trade, and I've picked my car, and you've done a soft pull. I've indicated that I want to lease, maybe even selected some F&I products. And then without an appointment, I walk in and introduce myself. And when I meet a salesperson, I say, hey, I did a lot of this work online. Can we pick up where we left off? What does a sales associate have to do? Is this something they would go into the Gubagoo backend? Do they have to find them in the CRM? And if it is the CRM, what type of data integration would make it easy for a salesperson to know exactly where to pick up with this consumer?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, we talk about people, process, and technology. That's really big in our company. So I bring that up because you need to have the technology available for the dealership staff to obviously see where the consumer left off. And it's tremendously important to have that continuity of the online and the in-store experience. I think without that, we're failing at digital retailing as an industry. When the consumer can't continue the process where they left off, they have to start again. It's worse than if you didn't have anything online. It's an awful experience in the store. So people, process, technology. So you have to have the tech available, and I'll talk about where that is available in Gubagoo. But also you need to train the dealership staff. They have to be properly enabled to know how to handle the workflow when the consumer comes in, even if they don't say that they were in online retailing. They need to, the dealership staff needs to know how to check that. So with that said, there's two methods where the dealership can enable that online, offline experience. Primarily the dealership's working within CRM. So we always like to make sure, like with respect to sales. So we always like to make sure that the integration between CRM and Gubagoo backend is really strong so that you can get that seamless flow information. So basically, when the customer comes in, the dealer would look this consumer up. They could look them up directly in the Gubagoo backend and see all the deal details. They could see the payment, the trade-in, the F&I, the rebates that they selected, all those things. And of course, if they submitted a full credit application, you can see that as well. And it's also in Dealer Tracker Route 1. Now, the dealership, I believe, is going to first look at the CRM. They're going to look at the CRM. What they're going to see is they're going to see a lead from Gubagoo, like an opportunity in CRM under that customer record that has all the deal details that we've collected from relating to that consumer. And even if the consumer dropped off and went back into virtual retailing and looked at some more vehicles, we're also going to send that to CRM. And the dealer can click a link that's populated in the CRM opportunity record. We'll take them right to Gubagoo backend where they can see just, I'd say, like a nicer, more robust interface for viewing all the deal properties of that consumer, and they can pick up right where they left off.
Got it. So, Ryan, as we bring our chat to a close, out of all the things that your company has learned in helping dealers create a modern retail experience, is there one or two things for the dealers listening to today that you would recommend maybe to save them a little pain, make it a little easier? Anything that you can think of under the category of, I wish I thought about this before I started digital retailing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so first of all, you need buy-in from your store. So it's not going to work if the entire sales organization is not bought in.
Yep.
And you really want to make it work, because I really believe that the success of digital retailing hinges on this involvement at the store level with the consumers that have worked with the digital retailing or virtual retailing experience on the website. So either it's when the consumer is live on the website, you're interacting with them, building trust with them, starting that relationship with them while they're in the process. Mm-hmm. It's after if they started the process and then dropped off, you have tools available. You can use email, you can use SMS, you can use Facebook, you can use all sorts of channels that are available. I mean, there's no lack of channels to communicate with the customer. So when they drop off, being able to see what they've done in the deal and then communicate with them that's relevant, with a communication that's relevant to actually what they did. Don't make them start again. Oh, I saw you were, you submitted a lead. How can I help you? Like, that's not a good follow-up, especially when the consumer has, already calculated a payment, done a soft credit pull, added some rebates, F&I, all those things. So you need to select the right partner for technology, but also make sure that your staff is bought in, trained, and motivated to communicate with the customers while they're using digital retailing or after they've used digital retailing.
Well, I know that seeing the demonstrations of your tool, dealers are going to be wowed. I was just talking to an OEM the other day who mentioned they had a demo and they were like, man, that's some really slick stuff. So I think the idea of a conversational experience, conversational e-commerce is exactly what consumers need, especially as we look at the challenges of educating consumers on how to make a frictionless sale occur. Ryan, thank you so much for your time. For dealers who would like to learn more information about your products, where do they go?
Yeah, so they can go to gubagoo.com, and I think there is an item for virtual retailing /digital-retailing. So gubagoo.com will show you all of our solutions that we have available. If you're specifically interested in virtual retailing, it's gubagoo.com/digital-retailing. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, all the cool stuff, that people are using these days.
Where all the cool people hang out. Well, listen, that's
exactly.
That's awesome, Ryan. Thank you so much for your time. We look forward to publishing this podcast and sharing it with dealers who obviously are looking to educate themselves on how to create a modern retail experience. For the dealers who are listening to today's podcast, keep in mind that on May 19th to the 21st in the Napa Valley, the 10th Annual Digital Marketing Strategies Conference will be laser focused on digital retailing. We have dealers, OEMs, and consumers. We're going to be testing products live to see how consumers use them. And if you can't make it in May, keep us in mind. In November at the beautiful Breakers Hotel, we have the 3rd Annual Automotive Analytics and Attribution Summit, where, again, the top tech companies will be there helping dealers understand ways to create a modern retail experience. This podcast is one of 20 interviews we're doing with leaders in digital retailing. Ryan, thank you so much for participating, and we wish you and your entire team great success in the years ahead.
Thank you so much, Brian. It was a pleasure sharing ideas with you, and looking forward to your events as well. And yeah, thanks for having me on.
Great. Remember, everyone, every Monday we publish a new podcast, so I look forward to sharing some time with you in the coming days. Thank you.